to the Step Out podcast. This is your host, Glen Guyton, with another exciting episode to help you live your ideal life and to love the life that you live. New episodes are featured every week, and you can find me on YouTube, subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher Radio. Thank you for joining me. And remember, this month, if you've been following me on social media, if you're friends with me on Facebook or Twitter, you have seen my tweets about the gratitude challenge. So we are, or at least I'm challenging you and your friends for 30 days to show gratitude to the people in your life that have made a difference. People who have impacted you, people that have helped you to become successful, or who are helping you to become a success in your current situation. So think about those things. Let's say this challenge doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. You don't have to do a lot of posting on Facebook, but maybe it's a teacher. Maybe it's your mailman. Maybe it is your sibling, whoever it is that is touching your life on a regular basis, or who has helped you to achieve your dream. Write them a note, buy them a Cinnabon, or clean the house, whatever it is that you think that person will appreciate. But let them know that you are showing them gratitude for all of the great things, or the things, or the little things that they do in your life on a regular basis. Well, today on the Step Out podcast, last episode we talked about the Amish. I don't know if I went too deep into the Amish thing, but today we are going to talk about protests. I want to talk about protests because there have been a lot of things going on. Just a few weeks ago, we had the mass shootings, and then we had the protests by the Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. People want me to boycott Target, and I was like, Target ain't never done nothing to me. Why am I boycotting Target? What does Target have to do with police officers getting shot? I couldn't figure that out. So I think that we need to spend some time as we think about stepping out, making a difference in our world, making a difference in our community. What are the things that we can do to effectively bring about change? I'm not a historian, but I think that we are looking at history wrong. We're looking at history, the civil rights movement, which wasn't very long ago. We've forgotten what it was all about, especially people like, my age, Generation X, millennials, Generation Y, whatever generation, like X and all. We have no clue. I was born in 1969. I know I look young. It's like, really? Are you that old? You look so young, Glenn. Yes, I do. Thank you. I do look young. I know. But I was born in 1969. So I'm full in effect Generation X, Run DMC, EPMD, Public Enemy, rap was just started, Michael Jackson. I am full blown Generation X, and I have always known integration. I have always known what it's like to not have Jim Crow. I heard about the civil rights movement. I'm intrigued by the stories of Dr. Martin Luther King. Even people used to say I looked like Dr. Martin Luther King. They did, and I used to go around when I was in middle school or something, and do the I Have a Dream speech. I say to you today, my friends, that in spite of the difficulties and frustrations of the moment, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. So people like, hey, Glenn, can you come do the Martin Luther King speech? And then I helped this kid, right? Now we're talking about showing gratitude. Then I helped this kid when I was a youth pastor at this church. I helped him do the I Have a Dream speech, kind of taught him how to do it, showed him the ropes, and got him some speaking engagements. Now he's going speaking everywhere. So Xavier, if you're listening to this, where's my money, man? Where's my money? I told you that you need to give me my finder's fee for you doing that I Have a Dream speech. I haven't forgotten you. I'm coming after you, and you know you owe me. But no, so I did the I Have a Dream. So I've been intrigued by Dr. Martin Luther King and the things that went on in the civil rights movement. And I heard about the sit-ins. One of my friends, Rochelle, who's she is as Democrat as Democrats could be, works for Congressman John Lewis. So I feel like she's reached out and touched history. I did a podcast on her a while back on the original series for the Step Out podcast. But now I think like so like Black Lives Matter. Let's talk about Black Lives Matter. And it's controversial. Some people are like, well, all lives matter. Yeah, all lives do matter. And so the whole thing that you don't like Black Lives Matter, or Sean Hannity says it's a hate group. It's just ridiculous. Sean Hannity. If you were listening to my podcast, you and Rush Limbaugh, you all know you don't believe that. You're just trying to get ratings. And Bill O'Reilly, all those Fox News guys. They're trying to get ratings. No, I mean, everyone knows the Black Lives Matter is not a hate group. And everyone knows this. I mean, you really should know. The saying Black Lives Matter is just saying that Black Lives Matter too. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about stepping out and doing the things that you are called to do in your life. And, maybe Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly are called to be conservative talk show hosts. I mean, they're some of the highest rated radio personalities out there. So that's what they do. They're supposed to stir the pot up. I mean, that's what they do. And they want to get ratings. I don't think they care about money. Look, I've shown money the last 3 podcasts, so I'm going to show you money again. I'm sorry, people. If you're listening to this, I just held up some money. I'm kind of videotaping this thing too, and I'm also doing it on Stitcher Radio and iTunes, and you can subscribe to the Step Out podcast. But I just flashed some money. So can y'all hear that? So that's for you all that are listening. That's your ear pleasure for today. But let's talk about this book. I am a man, and I know the camera is like flipped around, so this is all backwards. But I am a man. I'm holding up the book. I am a man. For those of you that are listening in podcast land, but I am a man. The title of this book, Race, Manhood, and the Civil Rights Movement by Steve Estes. It's a throwback to the Memphis sanitation workers strike back in 1968. So a year before I was born, they had a strike because of the dangerous working conditions of the sanitation industry, and a couple of people died. A couple of the sanitation workers who were predominantly black died. So 1,300 sanitation workers walked off the job in protest. Now that's a march, right? That's a march that was with purpose and that was intentional. And I think that's what we're missing sometimes with the protest marches of today. We think that like the civil rights people just march because they just want to walk. Let me just go walk and it's going to make change. No, there were a whole bunch of other things that happened. It's not just walking with a sign that brings about change. You have to be intentional about why you are walking. You have to have a clear purpose. And that's just like in our everyday lives. If we want to affect change in our life, if we want to do something different, we have to be intentional about our actions. Why are we doing what we do? We don't want to just go through the motions. Let's have a reason and a purpose for doing the things that we want to do. And so the sanitation workers walked off of the job. It was an intentional protest. They had certain things that they wanted. And also, their walking away from their job had a significant impact on the community. What would you do if your trash wasn't picked up for a week? I mean, just think about like after Thanksgiving. You know how much trash you have. Like after your mom and them and your cousin and all those people come to your house. You have all that trash. You're like, what am I going to do with all this trash? Sometimes you're like, well, let's just leave the turkey in the freezer so we don't have to sit out in the garbage can because it'll start stinking. Y'all know y'all do that, right? Right? You like keep stuff in the refrigerator so it doesn't stink. So just imagine if you had all your trash and you had stuff that you wanted to throw away, but you couldn't because the workers were striking. And that's what happened. I mean, what happened in Memphis. The strike started in February and it went to April. Can you imagine like 2 months of not having your trash picked up? I have a fit if I miss 1 week of trash pickup. And so this movement, this protest, it had a direct impact on the community. And they were asking for some specific things to help the workers that were involved. They want to let everyone know that their lives matter. And it's just like, I am a man. It was like, women don't matter, no. But they wanted the people to know that I'm a sanitation worker right now and I need some attention. I need some change to happen. And, I think, Martin Luther King was involved. I think he died like right after this strike ended, or maybe like right before he died on April 4th, and the strike ended. Let's see, after his death, actually, yeah. So it says his on the 16th. So a lot of things kind of came together. But I'm a man. It's just one example of an effective protest that happened in our community. And I think now that we just kind of have this thing in our mindset that we can make change. We're just gonna go march and shout at each other. But we don't have any clear leader. We don't have any clear goals, and our marching doesn't have a purpose other than drawing some media attention, and that's good. So I'm not saying marching is bad. We just have to know what the purpose is when we decide to protest, or when we decide to follow a certain course of action. So let's think about protest, civil rights, and one of the things that I'm doing is I'm writing this book, right? And so one of the first things that I talk about, is who you are, and I am, to live your ideal life, you have to figure out who you are. So you say, I am. What am I? And then you have to decide on the path that you want to follow in life. So you have to just make a decision. I'm going to go left. I'm going to go right. I'm going to follow this road. I'm going to figure this path. Then, you evolve as time goes on. So this is the ideal life. I decide, I evolve, I advance, and I let go. And so as we think about what's going on with the civil rights movement, and even with like the Black Lives Matter movement now in this country, and some of the tension that's going on, it's this letting go thing that's very, very hard. And sometimes we want to let go of our past and things in our life to move on to the next level, or to move on to the next story, next phase of our life. But sometimes that past can hold us back, and that's one of the things I think that's happening in our community and it keeps us from stepping forward as people of color, is because of the history of this country. So even if I want to let go of the racism and slavery and things that are in the past in this country, it's hard for me to do that. And let me read you a quote from this book from President Johnson, okay? President Lyndon B. Johnson. It says, "You do not take a person who for years has been hobbled by chains and liberate him," the president said. "Bring him up to the starting line of a race and then say, you are free to compete with all the others." Johnson also noted, says, while noting that middle-class African Americans had made much progress, Johnson pointed to the breakdown of the family and low-income Black communities as perhaps the most important indicator of what remained to be done in the Civil Rights Revolution. Now, this was written in about a 1965 speech, and these are some of the things that people are facing today. I'm a middle-class African American man, and some of the the middle class for Black Americans, for the racial minorities, has grown considerably since 1965, and now it's 2016. But that past, that the past history and the past systems that were created in this country continue to be a stumbling block for many people. And so in order for us to live this ideal life, we have to learn how to let go of the things that are holding us down. And I want to let go mentally. We want to let go mentally, and we want to move forward. But we also have to change systems, and we have to be intentional about how do we overcome the obstacles in our life. How do we overcome the systems? And it takes some specific action. So as you go out there and as you live your life, and you face the everyday challenges of, maybe you feel like it could be racial profiling, it could be unjust hiring practices, whatever you feel like it could be holding you back. You have to figure out, well, what do I need to do to overcome this situation? Can I change the laws? Can I change something about myself to help me to be less susceptible to those challenges, or to this system? One of the things that I did when the rash of shootings happened right before the Dallas shooting, if you all remember that, but it was just a couple of African American males were killed by police, and then you had the tragic Dallas incident where the police officers were targeted. One of the things I did was I wrote my city officials. So I was intentional about what I wanted to do. I wrote the president, I wrote the mayor, I wrote the governor, I wrote my sheriff, I wrote the police chief, I wrote all these people. And the sheriff and President Obama wrote me back. But the sheriff is an elected official. And one of the things that you have to understand if you want to bring about change is you have to speak to the people that are in power. You have to speak to your elected officials if you really want to bring about change, because law enforcement is just an extension of this political system. The judicial system and the political system are all intertwined. So if you really want to make a difference, it's not just about going and getting your face shown on CNN or walking around with a sign that says "I am a man" or "Black Lives Matter." We need to change the legislation. We need to change our legal system. We need to change the training requirements for our police officers. And that's one of the things that I've talked to Sheriff Parmelo, the Bexar County Sheriff. She was gracious enough to meet with me. She talked about all the training that goes on with the Sheriff's Department. They get a lot of training, man. I was like, man, they are very well trained. She talked about the special task force, like mental health officers, officers that serve warrants to people with mental challenges. And so that's a whole special field of law enforcement. When you serve a warrant, it can be a very dangerous situation. So people that have mental challenges, you don't want to just roll up on them and just present them a warrant like you do a person that has their full mental understanding, because the situation can escalate. And that's what we want to do. We want to de-escalate police civilian situations. We want to make it safe for everybody. So Bexar County has a special group of police officers that do that. So we want to be intentional when we want to make change in our society. It's not about just hollering and screaming, but we want to find out what parts of the system are causing problems and where can we affect change in meaningful ways. So thinking about this sanitation worker strike, those people knew how important their job was. And they knew that walking off of their job will have an impact. They didn't just protest, but they left their jobs. And so they left the city in a bind. They left the city with a vacuum of services that were desperately needed. And they did it for a long time. I mean, they did it from February to April. That's a long time for your trash not to be picked up. Like I said, if I miss 1 week of my trash cycle, I'm all in a tizzy, and I'm trying to find a dumpster somewhere where I can. Well, that's illegal, so you don't do that, do you, Glenn? No. But you're trying to find where can I put this trash? Hey, can I? You take it over your brother-in-law house. And I actually did that one time. My brother-in-law had rented a dumpster to fix his house, and he said, "Well, you can come throw some trash over here." That's a wonderful thing. So as we seek to live out our purpose in life and to make a change in this world, we really need to be intentional about our actions to get the desired result. And that's really what I'm talking about today. What is the desired result that we want from our action? We don't want to just be doing stuff because other people are doing stuff and we just feel like doing stuff is going to change stuff. No, it's not. We want to be intentional. We want to know what the impact will be. We want to know who the decision makers are. We want to get in front of those decision makers. We want to clearly articulate the things that we need. We want to be direct and specific. Just a mob or crowd, I think, has led to some dangerous things and has led to some unfortunate situations. There's a time and a place for those things, for us to express our collective anger and to let people know that there's strength in numbers, but we also have to understand the things that happen behind the scenes for us to be successful, for us to bring about effective change in our life, in our sphere of influence, so that we can proudly proclaim that I am a man, or that I am a woman, or I am the person who God has called me to be. So thank you for listening to this episode of the StepOut podcast. Remember, you can follow me on Stitcher Radio, YouTube, or subscribe to me on iTunes and take me with you wherever you go. Thank you for joining us, and I hope that you are living your ideal life and that you are loving the life that you live. Thank you. God bless.